The U.S. State Department announced that it is cutting more than half of the budget allotted to the UN Agency for the Palestinian Refugees. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank must be wondering what hit them. People who have been driven from their homes, dispossessed, exiled and humiliated at every turn for 70 years have been accused by President Trump of disrespecting his country. The Trump accusation was delivered in the form of what else than a tweet. This is what he said, we pay the Palestinians hundreds of millions of dollars a year and get no appreciation or respect. But with the Palestinians no longer willing to talk peace, why should we make any of these massive future payments to them? With that, Trump announced he was slashing $65 million from the $125 million aid package to the UN Relief and Works Agency, known as the UNRWA, which funds education, healthcare and food programs for Palestinian refugees. Washington is the largest contributor to the agency's budget, handing out $355 million in 2016. So what drove Trump to slash that aid? It was the refusal by the Palestinian leadership, chiefly Mahmoud Abbas, to resume peace talks with Israel under Washington's auspices. But Abbas was left with no choice after Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital city and said the U.S. embassy would move to that city from Tel Aviv in a few years. Mahmoud Abbas wants Trump to step back from his Jerusalem commitment, which the president is unlikely to do. In fact, he has warned that further funding of the agency will require it to carry out major changes. In doing so, Trump may have been misled by the Israelis, who have accused the agency of being soft on Palestinian militants and allowing its facilities to be misused by hardline anti-Israeli Palestinian groups. No evidence was given to back up these charges. And joining us on this story, we have our senior editor, Surya Gangadharan. Surya, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. So, this is now a constant in the American foreign policy. Either you do what we, Washington, want you to do, or we cut the funds. It has happened to the UNESCO, it has happened to the UN, it is happening perhaps for the nuclear agreement with Iran. So, is this the new frontier of American foreign policy?
Well, it's unfortunate, but that appears to be the general trend of UN's foreign policy, especially towards the United Nations. Now, traditionally, the US has seen the UN in rather adversarial terms, and especially when you look at every annual session of the UN General Assembly, which generally results in some anti-US pronouncement. The US has sort of developed a certain aversion to funding the UN. There are various voices within Congress, within various US administrations to cut funding, and Trump has gone and does just that. So I think this is a precursor to what's going to happen. If you don't do what America wants you to do, then expect to lose some money.
And looking at a bit from the Palestinian perspective, 5 million Palestinians are living currently scattered between Lebanon, Syria and Jordan. And Lebanon and Jordan are very strong allies of the United States of America in the region. So cutting the funds of this agency would anyhow impact the relation between the US and these countries who are actually hosting millions of refugees and therefore using the money of the UNRWA in order not to suffer too much pressure.
I would suspect the US would find some way of ensuring that its allies in Jordan and Lebanon don't come to any great pressure because of funding be cut for the UN Relief and Works Agency. I would presume they would find some way to compensate them or give them some money directly so that the issue of keeping the Palestinians on some kind of proper footing continues. But as far as Syria is concerned, I don't think the US cares less. And they'll ensure that the cut goes ahead, and as you're well aware, they don't care either about the UN.
Thank you very much. Our senior editor, Surya Gangadharan, helping us to decode what it means for the Palestinians to see their UNRWA, the budget for the UN agency taking care of Palestinian refugees, cut by $65 million.